Welcome to the Multi-Orgasmic Mama podcast, where sexy motherhood taboos are broken. I'm Tilly Storm, holistic sex and jade egg coach and tantric sex teacher, all-around pleasure and prosperity advocate, and mama of two. If you are looking to get the spark back in your sex life and relationship, if you'd like to revive desire and feel sexy again without hormones, years of therapy, or trying things that don't feel authentic in the bedroom, then download my free Ignite Your Desire e-guide at www.tillystorm.com/e-guide. This episode is brought to you by the Sensually Embodied Woman Collective. If you're ready to remove all your blocks to pleasure, turn on and feeling confident and sexy in your body through my paid programs and offerings, then head to www.tillystorm.com today. Welcome back to the podcast, Hot Mamas. I have a guest for you today, another Essentially Embodied Woman grad. You're probably wondering, how do I get so many of my graduates to come on here and talk about this program? Well, it's because it's awesome. It's epic. It helps people go from anxiety, depression, and lack of self-worth, feeling on a lack of pleasure, to completely flourishing in relationships, just like Bianca has done in the 13 weeks that we've been together. So without further ado, Bianca, hey, how are you?
Hi, I'm great, Tilly. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's so good to have you. So tell me a little bit about you, yourself, your family, your life. We'd love to get all of the nitty-gritty details because you've got so much on your plate. I want to hear everything. Tell us everything.
True story. Well, I am a mom of four. I've been married for 6 years. I've been with my husband for a total of 8. Before I became a stay-at-home mom / entrepreneur, I was a surgical technologist working in surgeries for about 10 years. It was my cumulative career. And then decided, you know what, I've had enough of this stress. I want to have some babies. So I left my career and decided to do the stay-at-home mom thing, which was so much more than I had bargained for. I really didn't realize what that all entailed. And then on top of that, my husband left his career and started his own business. So I've been helping him out with his business on top of also starting my own business. So there's lots of business going around, lots of kids running everywhere. My kids are pretty young. My youngest just turned 2 around Thanksgiving. So we're a very busy household, and there's a lot of stress, but it's a good kind of stress. And I think the whole reason why I got into this program and how I found Tilly's podcast originally was because my marriage was really on the rocks due to just not carving out the time necessary to take care of myself and to take care of my relationship with my husband. So I was really grasping at straws. My anxiety and depression was at an all-time high. I was having anxiety attacks fairly frequently. I mean, they had bumped up in frequency over the last year. I'm sure a lot of people can really relate with, world events and things going on, and that really ramping up your anxiety and stuff. So yeah, it was really becoming an issue and preventing me from really having good relationships with my family. I see them every day. I live with them, and, I just felt really shitty. So then I found the program, and it was, my goodness, I can't even begin to exclaim about how much it has helped me over these last 13 weeks.
Yay. Awesome. Well, I just want to stop and honor you for being a mom of 4 with so much on your plate and having the bravery and the courage to make this a priority, to make you a priority again. I mean, I hear that from so many people, right? Like sometimes it's hard to get people to even attend a 1-hour webinar or event or something, but to commit to like a 13-week transformation when you've already got so much going on, gosh, like it takes a lot of courage and bravery. And I'm just so proud of you for doing that.
Oh, thank you. Honestly, I'm proud of myself because it was very scary, holding myself accountable for my behavior and the thoughts in my head, and, being able to reach out and ask for help has been a huge hurdle for me throughout my life. I've been raised to, be a very independent person, which is great. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but thinking that I can just always do things on my own by myself without help, like, life gets very overwhelming. And sometimes you do need to ask for help and you do need guidance so that you can be your best self and show up, to whatever your desires are, to whatever your dream of what your life should be like, to its fullest capacity. I can't thank your program and how you've organized the tools that you've given us, the meditations, how you walk through everything and teach us, because that was so valuable to me in my day-to-day life, just being able to be comfortable with myself and feel like, yeah, I'm a human. I have needs, I have wants, I have desires, and I deserve to go and get them. So yeah, that was really big.
Yeah. Oh, yay. I love hearing this so much. It just brings the biggest smile to my face. If you could see me right now, some of you might be able to see me, but
same here. I've got a huge smile too.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Well, tell me a little bit about your biggest wins. You've kind of shared some already, but like, what was the overall, like, for what is possible now because you've been able to really put yourself a priority and like put your pleasure first and, take care of yourself and ask for help, because so many of us are just in that complete people pleasing, over giving mode, and we just don't know how to ask, which I think it's so funny because one of the core wounds of humanity is self-worth. It's feeling like we're not worthy. And one of the trauma responses to that is over independence, hyper independence. So tell us a little bit about how you're able to shift from that, like, I can do anything mom mode, to like, I'm going to freaking sit back, relax and ask for help and be in my pleasure.
Well, it was sort of this epiphany, and I'm sure everybody's familiar with the cup, analogy, where like, how can you pour from an empty cup? Well, I'll tell you what, when I started this program, it was a raggedy ass cup with holes. It was rusty. Like, it probably wasn't even washed for like a year or so. Like, we were in some pretty downer of a place. So for me, the biggest wins, well, definitely number one, first and foremost, the anxiety and depression, bouncing from those extremes where, like, you can't control it. And that was another one of my issues, is like the control and releasing and allowing other people to step in to do the work and to help out. So, taking a step back and realizing like, yeah, I need to rest. I need to take care of myself. And in doing so, that allows other people to step up and feel valued in my life, in my home. It's that responsibility. So allowing other people to help, step into their power, while also allowing myself to take a step back and recharge. That was a huge hurdle for me to overcome, and is a big result for me, because yeah, the control issue is huge. But then also, with my marriage, like, I love my husband and I wouldn't want to trade him for the world, but like, we were really pushing each other apart. And I feel like acknowledging those feelings inside of me, like, what are my needs? That was a question I didn't even know the answer to when I first started this program, because I hadn't been listening to myself. I hadn't been taking the time to just hear what my body has to say, what my mind has to say, and then giving the space for it to just be whatever it is without judgment. Learning how to really utilize that tool is huge for me. And I do that like on a pretty consistent basis. I didn't realize how much of an issue that was until I started doing it. And then on the days when I don't do it, I see how much I really need it. And that motivates me to want to do it more frequently, because I see the difference, you know, between doing the practices and not doing the practices, and how beneficial those practices really are.
Yeah. And was there a specific tool that you're alluding to, or just like all of the things that I give y'all?
I mean, I think the daily practice, like the daily release and the pleasure practices that you gave us, the meditation with the release, and then, you know, after you release, you sort of take those few moments to listen to affirmations or listen to the pleasure practice, or do a pleasure practice or a jade egg practice. Like, all of those are amazing, but I think the making it a habitual practice every day, taking that time for yourself, was really what drove it home for me, and, you know, makes me want to implement it because I see how beneficial it is.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, tell me a little bit more about your relationship with your husband. So when you started, y'all were pretty good, right? But there seems to be this lack of polarity, and I'm going to be talking about more about polarity in the coming weeks, because I see this as a really big issue for a lot of people in relationships or wanting to create a relationship. Is the lack of polarity really happening? And one thing that I've noticed is that women who are chronically anxious or they're depressed a lot, they either go into this I can't do anything, I'm not getting out of the bed mode, like, right? That's a freeze response. Or they go into this hyper independence, I'm just going to do everything and do it all myself mode. And what I see is that like, if you're one of those people that tends to go into that, it's more of a fight response, right? Like, I'm just going to fight my way through this and just do it all anyway. That is such a masculine push, right? So tell me about how you've been able to like harmonize your energies with your husband by learning how to surrender and let go of control a little bit, so that he can really step up and play more of that role. And really, you know, you've just given him the opportunity to step up. What has that been like for y'all?
So I think the first thing to address in this whole thing was communication. You know, when you're in that hyper independent mode and you think, yeah, I'll just do it myself, you don't need to communicate anything with your partner. So I had these huge walls built up because, you know, I can do it. I can do anything I want to do, you know, and you sort of get defensive. So for me, a lot of the lack of surrender and inability to really let somebody else take control stemmed from, well, that hyper independence. I can just do this myself. So communicating with my husband, which, I mean, it sounds silly, but like, it's really one of the biggest keys to success in, you know, kind of bucking up my marriage, because I was just assuming that he just knew what I wanted, which is silly. Like, he's not a psychic, you know, like, he just can't. It's not like it's on a billboard on my forehead that says, hey, this is what I need or what I want right now. So opening up and discussing with him and saying like, hey, this is what I need today, or this is what I feel like doing, or this is what I want you to do to me, and allowing him to sort of giving him the opportunity to step in and play the role and be in control for, you know, a minute or however long. It's really just opened up so many possibilities. One of them, and, you know, I'm going to blush here in a second, but I have never had an orgasm that lasted as long as it did. It was so, like, I'm still mind blown by it. You know, just that whole, I didn't time it, but if I could have timed it, like, it was probably a few minutes, which is like unreal. And even my husband, like, I remember vividly in the middle of me climaxing forever, he was like, are you still having an orgasm? Like, he actually asked that. And I still had it after that, after he asked it. So, I mean, even being able to achieve that level of pleasure in the sense that I was allowing myself to be able to receive, like, wow, that was just wow.
Yes. See, it's totally translate life to bedroom, bedroom to life. It doesn't matter. It's all the same problem.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's why I love sexuality work so much, because it really is the best training for life. It's like the core things that make or break our lives, and give us a sense of being fulfilled and happy, and our joy are the same blocks and that you're going to have in your orgasm. So the way that you do life is the way that you do sex, and when you work on your sexuality, it literally changes how you do life. That old saying, like, how you do one thing is how you do another. uh, I heard that, and someone told me that when I was working at the birth center, as a doula and a midwife apprentice years ago. And I'm like, I had precipitous births for both of my babies. Like my second one, I had 6 contractions and my baby was out. Like, I mean, it was 30 minutes start to finish, done, boom, there he was. And
Lucky.
I'm like, right. Well, it was like a train wreck, but whatever. Right. But when I started to think about it, like, oh, right, this is kind of how I do my life, right? Like, when I decide I'm going to do something, it's like full steam ahead, train is moving that way, and there is no getting my mind off of anything. It is just boom, there it is, done, right? So, it's like kind of the same thing, that like how you do one thing is how you do another. And that's, I see it so much in sexuality and people's sex lives. Like, if they struggle orgasming, well, then it's really easy to tell that, well, she probably just doesn't know how to surrender and let go of control. And she's probably got a core wound of worthiness, and she doesn't feel completely worthy of pleasure. So she has to prove and prove and prove.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you what, I mean, the whole worthiness thing, it's not something that goes away in a day. And I feel like it's something that I constantly have to work with and contend with on a daily basis. But knowing that that is my issue is part of how much better I am able to overcome it. Like, not knowing that that was my problem at the beginning was, I feel, a big reason why I kept falling into that cycle of anxiety attacks, and then, depression, and not being able to find the medium or the coping mechanisms and able to overcome those issues that I was having. Yeah. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, what do you think is possible for you in your relationship and your sexuality, and even in your business, having gone through everything that you went through and really being aware of the feeling lack of self-worth? And like, awareness is always the first step, right? So now that you're aware of that, what do you feel is possible for you in all areas?
Oh, healthy mind, healthy marriage, healthy lifestyle, being the badass boss lady and hot mom and amazing woman that I know I am.
Yeah.
I know, right? So now that I know how to fill up my cup and what to do with it, I'm better able to help fill up my family's cup, and also to be able to extend that into my community. I live in a pretty rural area, and my side gig business, it's not a side gig anymore. My business, I do like Reiki, energetic healing, and helping people in my community and putting on classes and stuff like that. And it's really opened up the avenue for me to be motivated and get those creative juices flowing to come up with classes, and to be able to want to offer things to the people around me and help them too. I love to help people. That's why I became a surgical technologist and got in the medical field in the first place. I wouldn't have kids if I didn't want to help people. Like, I have 3 little boys, so I see how much, work they need to be able to be good partners in the future, good people, good humans. And this work helps fill my cup so that I can help fill their cup, and they can be good people also. and not have to deal with the stuff that I've been dealing with, you know, like the buck stops here. I don't want to have them deal with anxiety and depression and, you know, all these crazy traumas and holding on to that shit. Because that's exactly what it is. You're holding on to it. And you give us the tools in a very easy, organized fashion, very digestible, so that you can work through those traumas and really excel in what you want to excel.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Okay. Well, I want the most detailed description as you can give us. How in the world did you manage doing these practices with 4 kids and a husband that works from home? Because, before you even speak to this, I know there's so many of you out there right now. You got 1 kid, you got 2 kids, you might even have 3 kids. And you have time for this. And I want Bianca to share with us how this can be possible, because those are just excuses. So I don't want to hear it. I'm sick of hearing it. If you are serious about changing and transforming your life, and you are serious about making your pleasure a priority, you have time. It's just a matter of choosing it. That if you value your time enough, if you value what you say you want in life, you will take the actions to do it. So tell us the details. How did you get through these practices in this program?
Well, straight up, I mean, the first question you need to ask yourself is, how bad do you want it? How bad do you feel like you need the help? Because where I was at when I first started this program and started talking to Tilly about this, you know, my husband and I were throwing around the D word. Nobody wants to talk about divorce. You know, like that was frightening to me, because, you know, this is my first marriage, but this is my husband's second marriage. So to think that, you know, this was maybe going down the same road that his previous marriage was going down, like that just didn't sit well with me. And, you know, I waited to get married until I was in my late 20s. Like I was almost 30 when I got married. So I had time to go and peruse. And I said, you know, I'm only doing marriage once. You know, like I don't want to get married at all if this is just going to be like a revolving door. And I was okay with that. So for us to be throwing around the divorce word, I was really like, man, we're scraping the bottom of the barrel. Like shit's getting real right now. And I don't want to have to deal with that. So if this is something that is an issue to me, then I need to look at myself and see what I can change to help make the situation better. And when I started looking at myself and recognizing that there were traumas that I was holding on to and issues that, you know, like emotions, things that didn't serve me that I was clinging on to, and it was affecting negatively my marriage and my family life, you know, really it was like, okay, well, where can I start? I'm going to start with myself, because that's how I know I can start something. So when you asked on our initial phone call about, you know, the program interview and stuff like that, you were like, well, how bad do you want to do this? Like, are you ready to commit to this? And I think I told you I was like an 8 or a 9. Really, I should have told you I was like 900. You know, I was downplaying how bad I really needed to take the time for myself. And so the question, how do you make the time for yourself? And it's as simple as that, you know, like how many minutes a day do you take, you know, scrolling on your Facebook feed or your social media feed, or watching videos, or sitting down in front of the TV, you know? And as much as I want to say that I, you know, am with my kids and doing stuff with them all the time, you know, there are days where I have to plug them in front of the TV so I could get some things done. And this was a very valid reason for me to do that. Put on their favorite movie, go lock myself in my bedroom for 15 minutes and get the practice done. So when I needed it to be private, I made the moves to make it a private environment for myself. I also bargained with my husband and said like, hey, I'm going to be doing like these live Jade sessions. Can you like take the kids out for pizza or like go do something with them? So they got out of the house. And, you know, when he's getting benefits from my practice, because let's get real, like I'm doing these jade practices, I'm working, with my vagina and, like doing all that work and tightening up those muscles and the, pelvic floor and getting those juices flowing and like priming myself and feeling good and glowing because I just had an orgasm. Like, oh my God, like he loves it. He loves to see me flourish and thrive and just be the best person that I can be. So it was an easy bargain for him. Like, oh, you've got a jade session tonight? Cool. I'll take the kids. We'll see you at 8:15, 8:30, like no problem. Other times, like, because there are some meditations that you had that were like half hour, 45 minutes. And those, like, I either tried to do really early in the morning, which is kind of tough for me, like with working with wonky sleep schedules with kids, but, really making and prioritizing that time for myself. So, any moment I could get, any 10, 15 minutes, like, yeah, I'm doing the practice. And also with the release meditation, I have to say, I was actually doing the release meditation with my kids a few times where, you stand there in stillness and you just listen to what your body and you feel what's coming up for you. And then you just let it out. And my kids got a real big kick out of that, like throwing a temper tantrum in the middle of my living room floor or just kicking and screaming or whatever, and of course it's like in a safe space, but teaching them those mechanisms to be able to let go of things is really beneficial for them too.
Oh, so, yeah. Absolutely. I know there's a few moms that have done that practice with their kids or taught their kids that practice and they had fun with it too. So beautiful. Well, one other thing that I wanted to point out is that you have a key characteristic that is different than, 95% of other women out there that are never going to do the work that you've done, right? And that is that you took responsibility. You took 110% responsibility for where your marriage was at and why it got the way it was, instead of blaming your husband for it, or instead of building up resentment around it. So I just wanted to point that out, that, if you're someone who is willing to take responsibility for your part in it, like Bianca's done, like you can change it. You don't have to sit back and wait for your partner to change in order for things to get better. That it's really about you. It's an invitation for you to do that for yourself and then see how the relationship changes as a result of the work you're doing on yourself.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. My husband and I have had this conversation about accountability, and he recognizes that he, is also a contributor into why our relationship got where it was at when we first started. So in me taking the initiative to recognize my problems and try to fix or, work on the things that I felt I needed to work on, he was also motivated to assess himself and work on his things, the stuff that he was bringing to the table that were contributing to why we were on rocky terms in the first place too. So as much as I've had a journey with Tilly myself, and I'm transforming myself and, transforming my marriage and the relationships around me, he also benefits from me doing this program because he's inspired to take control of the things that he can change and work on to make better for himself as well. So yeah, it's kind of like we're both on trains going in the same direction. And it's really nice to be able to reap the benefits of doing the work, because it is tough work. It's not, it really tries you, and things pop up that you didn't think were issues. And, it can be a little intense at times, but on the other side of it, like I would do it again in a heartbeat because it was just so, I plan to do it again, like these exercises, these practices and things, it's tough to face them and hold yourself accountable and work through them, but working through them and what you'll receive on the other side of it, it's priceless.
Yeah, awesome. Beautiful. Well, one other thing I wanted to ask you too, and I remember our first call, and you were like, I always start things, but I never finish them.
Yeah.
Remember that?
I do.
Well, you finished this program. So
Yeah.
being someone who starts things but doesn't finish them, but then you did it here, like what would you say was the contributing factor to actually finishing?
I think the contributing factor would be recognizing how, when I consistently do the practices, the daily practices, and even the weekly practices and meditations and everything, versus not doing them. Because I'll be honest, like I was going strong at the beginning, I was doing them every day, and then like it kind of fizzles out a little bit, and maybe like you miss a day here, you miss a couple days here, and then maybe like because it was over the holidays, I missed an entire week. And then at the end of the week, I'm like, shit, like what is going on right now? Oh, I haven't been keeping up with my practices. So being able to see the flip side, like, okay, I know how I feel when I consistently do these versus how I feel when I don't do them. Having that contrast really motivated me because I like feeling good. I don't want to feel bad. I don't want to be depressed. I don't want to have a shitty marriage. I don't want to have fights and people screaming at each other and, you know, passive aggressive behavior in my house all the time. No, like I want it to be free flowing, open, loving, be who you are, come as you are, no judgment. Like that's how I want my life to be, and that's how it is again. And I missed that. I don't even know where exactly that, you know, it started to go the wrong way or go the opposite direction of what I wanted. But, you know, being present and holding myself accountable and doing the work, and then being able to contrast when I do the work versus when I don't do the work, and seeing that, that's what really motivated me to want to finish the program, because I feel good. Why wouldn't I want to continue to feel good?
Yes, amazing. So that's a positive reinforcement, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and the practice is actually being effective, because if they weren't effective, then you wouldn't see that positive reinforcement, and it would just be like, okay, yeah, this doesn't actually work, but it does work, which is what motivates you to keep doing it.
Yes, exactly.
Beautiful. Okay, so what is one thing that you would say to anyone on the fence to applying for this program?
Oh, do it. If you're ready to do the work, if you're sick of feeling like shit, if you're ready to, you know, feel empowered, be empowered, you know, chase your desires, bring to the table the life that you want to have, do this program. You know, like I I really appreciate the practices, the organization, the calls, the sisterhood, the group, the everything, because it's impacted my life in such a beneficial way. And I feel better. You know, even if I didn't have 4 kids, even if I wasn't married, I myself feel better. And I feel like if you're wondering why don't I feel good? What's wrong? I don't even want to say what's wrong with me, because I didn't feel like there was anything necessarily wrong with me. I just didn't feel right.
Yeah.
And then going into this program and learning everything and practicing everything and feeling comfortable in my own skin in this and in this space and with other women who are trying to accomplish similar objectives, you know, it's really for any woman, anybody, literally anybody.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. Beautiful. Well, is there any last words you have to share before we wrap up?
I love the program. It was a great program. I'm really looking forward to doing other programs with Tilly, because it's really opened my eyes to varying aspects of energy work and marrying that with your physical body and making it work together to the most benefit for yourself and for your life. You know, you can truly create the life that you want figuring out which tools you need, that can be tough at times. And I really feel like Tilly does a great job of presenting that to you so that you can attain what you want.
Yeah. So. Awesome. All right, Bianca, thank you so much for joining and sharing your story. I know there's so many women out there listening right now that are just like, oh my God, I totally see myself in her, and hopefully are motivated to do what you've done and to take that leap of faith and take the action that they know they need to take to get the results like you have. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
All right, Hot Mamas, if you have made it this far in this podcast episode interview, I guarantee you that you are meant to do this program. If you have seen yourself in some form or another in Bianca, you are meant to do this. So don't even think about it. Just go apply right now at www.tillystorm.com/essentially-embodied-woman. You will get on a call. You will book a call with my assistant, Jennifer, and she will take great, great, great care of you and help you to decide if this program is right for you. Last chance to apply. The doors close at midnight, March 2nd, 2021. See you inside, my love.